The main purpose of this methodology is to provide a primer for conducting a mixed analysis. Data analysis is mixed method research, the term used for analyzing data in mixed research. Broadly speaking, a mixed analysis involves using both the data analysis techniques within the same study in a particular heuristic example using real data from a published study entitled Perceptions of Barriers of Reading Empirical Literature. A mixed analysis is used with the aid of screenshots to illustrate how a researcher can conduct a quantitative dominant mixed analysis, wherein the quantitative analysis component is given higher priority and qualitative data and analysis is incorporated to increase understanding of the underlying phenomena. Qualitative data analysis techniques. Each of the various quantitative data analysis technique has a different approach to extracting value from the data. For example, quantitative data analysis technique that stimulates and estimates the probability of outcome in uncertain condition in field such as finance, engineering, and science. A provider of mobile telecommunication service can use it to analyze network performance using different scenarios to find opportunities to optimize its services. Other quantitative data types are examples include cross-tabulation and trend analysis. A typical steps involved in two popular quantitative data analysis techniques, those are regression analysis and hypothesis analysis. Regression analysis is a type of statistical analysis method that determines the relationship between independent and dependent variables. In finance, regression is defined as a method to help investment and financial managers value asset and determine variable relationship in commodity price and stocks. Through experiments that involves manipulating the values of independent variable, a quantitative data analyst can access the impact of the change on the dependent variable. The process can be thought of in terms of cause and effect. For example, an independent variable can be the amount an individual invests in the stock market with the dependent variable, the total amount of money an individual will have when they retire. The two primary types of regression analysis are simple linear and multiple linear. Simple linear regression analysis formula includes a dependent variable and independent variable. The mathematical representation of the dependent variable typically y, while x represents the independent variable. An example of the use of linear regression is a market research analysis analyzing the relationship between their company's product and customer satisfaction by ranking customer satisfaction level on the scale of 1 to 10. The market researcher can place numerical value on the data collected. Using these quantitative data, they can perform a regression analysis to determine a linear relationship between a product, that is independent variable, and a customer satisfaction, that is dependent variable. Multiple linear regression analysis also includes a dependent variable. The main difference is that it contains various independent variables, resulting in a potential complex formula for performing a regression analysis. However, tools such as Microsoft Excel and statistics software such as SPSS can simplify the task of multiple linear regression analysis. Hypothesis analysis tests whether a hypothesis is true. This data analysis technique that uses sample data to test hypotheses, to validate an assumption and determine if it's plausible or factual. In this approach, an analyst develops two hypotheses. Only one of them can be true. Two foundational components of hypothesis analysis are the null and the alternative. The first hypothesis is the null. Null means no difference between two groups represented in the data. Would claim that no difference is in school achievement existing between students from higher income communities and those from low income areas. In performing a hypothesis, the aim of the researcher and analyst is to demonstrate that a difference does exist between the groups in the study, therefore, rejecting the validity of the null hypothesis. The alternative hypothesis is typically the opposite of null hypothesis. We have already looked into this previously, but deeper we are diving here. Let's say the annual sales growth of a particular product in existence for 15 years is 25%. The null hypothesis in this example is that the mean growth rate is 25% for the product. The aim of hypothesis analysis is to determine if the null hypothesis is not true. So, in this example, an analyst uses the alternative hypothesis to test whether assumed 25% growth rate is accurate. Therefore, the alternative hypothesis is that the growth rate is not 25% for the product. The random sample can be the product's growth rate over 5 years instead of 15 years. At the end of the test, a data analyst can draw a conclusion based on the result. Qualitative data analysis techniques are built in two main qualitative data approach: deductive approach and inductive approach. This analysis method is used by researchers and analysts who already have a theory or a predetermined idea of the likely deductive approach. This analysis method is used by researchers and analysts who already have a theory or predetermined ideas of the likely input for a sample population. This approach aims to data collect that can methodically and accurately support a theory or hypothesis. Inductive approach. In this approach, a researcher or analyst with little insight into the outcome of a sample population collects the appropriate and proper amount of data about a topic of interest. Then, they investigate the data to look for patterns. The aim is to develop theory to explain patterns found in the data. Two main qualitative data analysis techniques used by data analysts are content analysis and discourse analysis. Another popular method is narrative analysis, which focuses on stories and experiences shared by studies of participants. The descriptions and the typical steps involved in content analysis and discourse analysis will study then deeper. Content analysis measures content changes over time across media, and it can use content analysis to identify patterns in various forms of communication. Content analysis can reveal patterns in recorded communication that indicate the purpose, message, and effect of the content. Content analysis can also help determine the intent of the content producers and the impact on target audiences. For example, content analysis of political messages can provide qualitative insights about employment policy amid the COVID-19 pandemic. An analyst could identify instances where the word employment appears in social media, news stories, and other media and correlates with other relevant terms such as economy, businesses, and mainstream. An analyst can then study the relationship between these keywords to better understand a political campaign's intention with its message. The content analysis process contains several components, including the following: Those are the identify data sources. The first step in the content analysis process is to select the type of content that to be analyzed. Sources can range from text found and written from textbooks, newspapers, social media posts to visual form found in photographs and video. Next is determine data criteria. This step involves determining what will make a particular text relevant to the study. Questions to assess data criteria can include: does the text mention a specific topic or connote an event related to the issue? Does it fall within a specified date range or geographical location? Develop coding for the data. Since qualitative data is not numerical, it needs to be codified in preparation for measurement. This requires developing a set or system of codes to categorize the data. Once the coding system is developed, relevant codes can be applied to specific text. Analyze the results. All the work in the previous steps lead to the data examination process. Data analysts look for patterns and correlations in the data to interpret results and make conclusions. They can incorporate statistical techniques for data analysis to draw insight from the data further. Discourse analysis explores conversation in their social context. A message is not always what it seems. So, reading between the lines or the ability to determine underlying message in communication is essential. When communication, whether verbal or written, have an indirect or underlying message, it can be interpreted one way by one group and in an entirely different way by another, potentially leading to breakdown in civil discourse. Discourse analysis helps provide an understanding of the social and cultural context of verbal and written communication throughout the conversations. This analysis aims to investigate the social context of communication and how people use language to achieve their aims, such as evoking an emotion, sowing doubt, or building trust. This analysis analyzes verbal and nonverbal cues. For example, the way a speaker pauses on a particular word or phrase can reveal insight into the speaker's intent or attitude towards their phrase. This analysis helps interpret the true meaning and intent of communication and clarifies misunderstandings. For example, an analysis of transcripts of conversations between a physician and a patient can reveal whether the patient truly understood the diagnosis. An analyst can distinguish subtitle subtext in communication through discourse analysis to differentiate whether the content is fact, fiction, or propaganda. There are different steps that are included in discourse analysis. We'll briefly understand those steps. First one is define the research question. That determines the aim of the investigation and provides a clear purpose. The research question will guide the analysis. Then select the content types. Materials used for investigation can include social media text, speeches, messaging, and marketing brochure, press releases, and more. Then collect the data. The content collected for the analysis typically focuses on a subject delivering the message, such as political leader or a company, and its targeted audiences, citizens and customers. Analyze the content. Word, phrases, sentences, and content structure can reveal patterns in the subject's attitude and intent with their message on the audience responses or reaction.